Well, we've got an interesting episode today. We're expecting people to kind of pop in and out. We've got a special guest on campus who is incredibly popular and difficult to physically move across the campus. So we'll have Terry Schultz coming in as life allows. But for now, I have my friend. Who are you?
I'm Lizzy Strackbein.
All right. And I'm Jason Jaspersen, and this is Whistle the Feast. What if we just do a little talking right now about the Bethany experience, the studio art experience?
Okay.
Can you get like a timeline? Can you get an overview of maybe, especially transformation?
Well, I think it's different for everyone. Like, especially I think my experience is...
We're talking about you.
Okay.
We're talking about you in particular.
Yeah, I can talk about me.
Let's do it.
Bethany art experience for me was probably the best choice I could have made for myself. Yeah, I went into Bethany thinking I would go into psychology for a very, very short amount of time because it didn't work out. I didn't even ever take any psychology classes, but I took Sculpture 1 with you, and I was like, maybe I could be good at this. Maybe I could, like, do this forever. So then I switched to be a studio art major, and school has always been extremely difficult for me, but art is kind of that, like, the secret. I can do art if I can't do anything else. So that's what Bethany has enabled me to do in my own way most of the time.
So, to be clear, it wasn't just a feeling. In sculpture class, you were really good.
Oh, thank you.
You had a great portrait. And then I'm so glad that you decided to pay attention to that, because I think a lot of people are afraid to allow themselves. They might have the skill, they might have the interest, but there's some barrier that usually has to do with practicality or application. What am I ever going to do with this is going on in the back of their head. How do you deal with that kind of practicality question?
It took a while to get used to dealing with that question, especially because my parents can be sometimes very practical. So especially when I went into it, they were like, what are you even going to do with that? And I didn't really have an answer, but how I think about it is, how I did think about it while I was in school is like, I need to work on it so I can be prepared to just take every opportunity that comes my way. It was like training. I don't know what's in the future, but I just need to be ready and prepared for anything that will happen in the arts world. So I can be like, yes, I can do this. I can do it confidently. I can do it well. But it is really unknown.
So are you saying that you always thought you would be in the arts world? Implying that you thought you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, once I decided to do it, I wrestled with the question of what am I going to do, and that's the answer I came up with. Is I don't know what the future is going to hold. That's in God's hands, but I can do whatever I can do to be prepared. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a college revelation.
Can you go back to what you said about school not really being your thing, or mm-hmm. I forget exactly what you said, but address that thought.
Yeah, I've always had a hard time in school. I always understood what was, going on. Like, it wasn't the content that was hard, it was just the format. So homework has always just been a real struggle for me. I could never figure out a way to do it in any sort of manageable time. Like, I remember even starting, I think, in 5th grade, homework started taking me 4 hours a day just for math, because I didn't understand math. And so...
What grade?
5th grade. And then it just kept getting the same. It never got better. And so it's always been like...
But you're saying it wasn't really the content?
No, because once I understood it, I would get it. I would understand. I would be just as capable. It's not like I'm not.
I have a couple thoughts right here at this junction.
Yes.
One is that now your mom is teaching.
Yes.
And maybe you've been preparing her to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if it wasn't about the content, right? Once you could get it, then you could get it. Mm-hmm. Then what was it about?
It's like, I never got any knowledge from lectures. So the teacher would stand there and do their very best, teaching the entire class. Let's take math for example, because it was my most difficult subject. So they'd sit there in the front of class and explain the thing, and then I wouldn't understand it. I'd go to ask questions, and sometimes I'd get yelled at for not paying attention. Even though I just didn't understand it. I always needed like a very specific, like, one-on-one approach, which was what made my homework take so long, is because I would have to reteach myself or have my dad, bless him, to come down and re-explain it to me, like, pretty much every single lesson.
So my question, like, what was the barrier? The barrier maybe is just that you were in a batch format.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I think the problem is I can't sit still. My brain can't focus while I'm sitting still. That's why I think I have a tendency to lean towards art, is because you can only learn hands-on. You can't learn by a lecture or, not very well.
There's something very physical about it.
Yeah.
Action-based.
Yes, it's action-based, and you have to do it to get better. And in every other subject, they kind of just expect you to just, like, read it with your eyes and then do it with your hands.
Yeah. Purely cognitive.
Exactly. And that was always a hard... I needed it to be on hands. I always only learn by doing things.
You said on hands.
On hands.
I mean hands-on?
Yes. Yes. That is what I mean. Hands-on. Yeah. Hands-on is the way that I learn.
Kinetic,
yes.
Yeah. You can dance at an easel.
Yes, that is right.
We're going to get another voice in the mix here. To get you caught up, we're talking a little bit about school, and I think the place that I want to go is on the horizon here. So Lizzy's experience being in a classroom and being sort of asked to understand the mathematical lecture or other mediums too,
yeah.
other fields too.
Yeah.
She had a hard time receiving information in that kind of batch way, where a lecture is broadcast to the room and then you get it or you don't get it. So she was expressing some struggles, and we were talking about her Bethany experience and her studio art choice. Why choose studio art? She had some issues with the application of it, the practicality of it. What are you going to do with this? But she's worked out basically the thought that she wants to be prepared to be an artist, because in her mind it's inevitable, and that's a really interesting stance, that this is happening, and you want to be ready for it. So that voice you all just heard is Terry Schultz back on the mic. He's if you haven't heard the episode that we did with him in season 1, that's the one. I just had somebody tell me 2 days ago they've listened to it 4 times.
Oh, really?
That particular episode.
Oh, nice.
And when I want to introduce somebody to Whistle the Feast, I say, go listen to the Terry Schultz episode. I forget that it begins with us laughing about the Muppets. Oh. But by the end, we're in the Amazon.
All right.
So Terry, just to guide us, I want us to get to the idea, and it's really good that Lizzy's in the room. I want us to get to the idea. You and I had a conversation about a year ago that has meant so much to me. I was expressing that, I have a hard time balancing vocation, trying to understand what God wants from me. And I'd say in the last 6 months or so, I've come to peace with the idea that I should be a teacher. I allow myself now to think that this is a good idea.
Okay.
I'm good at this. But the hard thing, the really hard thing is, who's going to sculpt? Who's going to paint? Who's going to do the work that I also can do? And I can't think of other people who can do those things. I can think of other people who can teach. So the conversation that you and I had something to do with if you find something in yourself that nobody else can do for ministry,
right?
That's between you and God.
Very much so. Right.
And there's a personal sort of sense of responsibility there that others might not understand the vision that you have or the urge or the need that you have, but you have to navigate that. You have to figure out how you're going to spend your life. You have strong thoughts about how to spend your life, and you have a track record of how to spend your life.
Right, and it it is such a spiritual journey, and the idea that everything, not to sound, just that everything is so interconnected that making that decision is going to be so inextricably tied to, your personal spiritual walk. You take something as elementary as when you first heard, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. Whereas you are so all in on you and God. And I think there is an absolute, undeniable correlation between, if you're loving God with all your heart, all your strength, and you're asking God to get you there, that's going to go a long ways in then answering that question. If you have so drained yourself out of the equation, and you have truly presented yourself, and you think of those words, servant, slave, one of the few Greek words I remember, doulos, where you say, I need to imagine myself as a slave of Christ in the wonderful sense, where I have truly, just emptied myself of my will. And then God's like, all right, I can work with this. And I think that's going to, go a real long ways with, just trying to figure out, what path, and the idea that you're on different paths at different times. And I remember so often seeing it in the foreign mission field and, with different, groups. For some reason, it seemed like a lot of there was a group, the Little Sisters of Mercy, got to know some of them with the Catholic Church. And you would see people getting literally airlifted out of Peru once in a while, and just kind of witnessing this whole mindset of, okay, God has used me here. Others are saying, that now, I will be somewhere else. And the idea of being comfortable with that. It's just, it's an amazing phenomena. But as you say, going back to what we discussed the last time, to me, you can hardly overstate that convergence that God created of you, your gifts, your experience, and the opportunity
And when you say you mean every
correct.
person.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Exactly. How you landed in that spot, was no accident. We don't believe in coincidences. And if that absolute overarching sensibility is, man, what can I do to for the kingdom? Because this life is so short. And I love those words. You've heard me say them over and over. You are a slave. You're a servant. You are a pilgrim. You are a stranger in this world. Kind of like act accordingly. Yeah. And whatever, the ultimate filter, what can I do to help get the most people through the Spirit's power into paradise? That guides my decisions.
In college, we deal with a lot of anxiety regarding the future. It's this threshold where people perceive that finally they're going to enter that mythical place called the real world. And as if, we haven't been living yet or something like that. So, could you help... Could you help us think that through? I think so many people are wanting to survive. Mm-hmm. They're aiming at the bottom, right? Like, I hope I make it. I hope I get a job, and there's this calibration that is just like, you're advocating something else. You're advocating something that's it's so far beyond this sort of survival, and it's actually so far beyond like earthly success as well.
Right.
You just skip the whole financial thing. Right? Like that's not what
right.
You're even thinking about.
Correct.
What you're thinking about is stance. Where is your place in God's creation? What is the act accordingly, you said.
Right.
Slave, servant, pilgrim. Right? I don't know. I think I want you to talk about that a little bit more.
Well, sure. And again, when you think of those words, it's almost as if, you are a slave. You are just passing through. This is so transitory. This is so transitional. And again, how can you possibly save the most souls, through the Spirit using you as a tool? Would you have more impact on kingdom work by teaching and helping to release all of these talented servants with their artistic background? Or would you have more kingdom impact at people seeing an absolutely stunning depiction of a statue of the crucifixion, as I saw in your studio? Will that actually elicit more of a response?
Yeah.
The idea of just this distillation, but that is the filter.
Okay, so I have a way to direct our attention to the now 4 of us around the table. This is just a magical episode where it starts with 2, it ends with 4. I think maybe there's more. We're out of microphones. So try this on. I've been having talks with students. There's an emerging pattern where I've recognized in myself and in a few others that there's something particular about a talented person that's difficult for them to talk to other people about. So I'll explain what I mean. I think it's safe to say, I think we can agree that the people around this table right now have been gifted exceptionally in certain ways. And Terry, you were speaking to me about my particular choices. and their impact on the kingdom.
Correct.
So I recognize Bethany becomes this sort of gathering place of people who they can do amazing things.
That's right. Amen.
But the trick is, so what? That's one thing. So, like, is there a place in our fellowship for particular vocations, right? You're an interesting example because they built your position based on your particular inclinations and passions.
Right.
Right? So that's one thing to think about. Is there a place for those people? And then another more internal emotional issue is you're super talented, boo-hoo. Like you can't talk about that without seeming like you're boasting. But I know people who can't find their limits. They keep trying, and no doors shut because they can do everything. And that's a particular problem when you're trying to weigh being a finite human and making a choice about your energy. So I have people around me, students, who just excel everywhere, and they're tired. But they just keep on trying to be that slave, that servant, right? And they're getting crispy. They're getting fried. And the reason I'm talking to them is because I realize they can't really talk out loud about this problem. There's a real loneliness to being exceptional.
Well, I'm sure we've heard people say there's no such thing as burning out for God. It's like that is not the way he has set things up.
This has to be heard. I want to hear what you say.
Well, yeah, I mean that is not honoring him. Certainly, working hard. Psychologists would, be able to do a better job at it, but to burn out, to have mismanaged. I mean, it's a stewardship question. Okay, burning out means you're running on fumes. You're running on exhaustion, and how are you going to get your best effort from that? Certainly, you have Paul, laboring extremely hard. We see that, and the emotional toll. I mean, it was inspired to have those, even those experiences written about. But to sideline yourself over burnout, there's no way that's the way God wants it to play out. The idea of being good at a lot of things, again, if you've got your spiritual act as together as possible, and you're still working off of that, how could I have the biggest kingdom impact? And you're, again, taking it to the Lord. And you got to just love the honesty of it, the integrity of, Lord, there's so many things I could do. There's so many things I could do well. Help me choose one. Just the idea that he is always the major player in your decisions. And that just almost like viscerally putting it on an altar. Here are my talents. I'm offering them to you. And then, just what you would have me do. But if I can take just one extra moment here, the part that that exhilarates you is that every step of the process, from still being a student and having homework and final exams and a lot of pressure, etc., the idea, and then especially in the art world, having so much that appears unknown. It's not unknown to God. It's not precarious to God. And the over and over and over where God keeps telling us, you live fearlessly. Man. I mean, be anxious for nothing, artists. Be anxious for nothing. I got the sparrows in my eyes. You don't think I'm right beside you every paint stroke you make? I was just going over with some artists that beautiful psalm where it talks like, I will not fear. You're talking about God trying to get your attention. The song where I will not fear even when the earth dissolves. Hey, the whole world's collapsing. Whatever. The mountains fall and the seas foam roar with the mountains fall into the sea. It's like, how emphatic can I get that you are not to fear your future? You do not fear how it's going to work out. And I think that they have that message just over and over, especially to artists, those where that road to earthly success is so hard to see. Do not discount that in the least bit. But it's in the form of a command. You are commanded, do not fear. Do not fear for how God, who put that combination of talents and opportunities into you, and if that combination equals, I'm going to be a waiter for a lot of time every week, and then I will do some artwork that will contribute to the kingdom. If that's the way my life plays out, okay, I'm fine with that. I am absolutely fine. I'm not in it for the fame, for me, for gain. I am simply in it for the Lord. And I think it's that I keep going back to that. I think the better we get at turning it over to Him, hey, you're telling us to, I am, then how that plays out is going to be, it's going to come to light.
Yeah. So you're suggesting a different way to measure how it's going, right? Your measuring stick is God's will,
right?
And that might be invisible. It might be obscured. It might be something that we don't necessarily have the necessary evidence for to know. But that's not our place. It's not our place to know. It's our place to serve, to travel, to be faithful.
I always go by that, He's a light unto our feet. He promises us a flashlight, not a map for the future. I love that. Just the idea that He will dictate how far ahead you see.
The great thing about that is that it's present tense constantly.
Yes, it is. Huge point.
You're right there. If you have a map, I think it just shuts you off. You go on autopilot and you just think, okay, this is taken care of. And if you think too future or if you think too past, you're kind of removing yourself from life in general. I admire Faith Belt for the big move that she made from home to home. It occurs to me that there's an emerging home in our midst, and I'm honored, really honored, that she's made that choice to be in our midst. And now she's sitting at the table, has been for a little while now. Faith, do you have anything to add to the go for it part of being a creative? You just heard Terry say how often God tells us, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Good question.
Thank you.
It's funny because you're saying that, and I'm like, I need to hear that right now. Yeah, I literally just this week, there were 2 days where I was just really, I think I was talking to Lizzy about this, that it's like I have this weird underlying sense of anxiety right now, and I can't shake it. Mm-hmm. And then what did we do for the rest of that night? Something else. We just like.
Which night was it?
It was like Monday or Tuesday.
Because Monday we went to Compline and sang some songs.
Hey, I was there too.
Yeah, we saw your car.
The Jason truck.
Yeah. Very easy to spot.
Yeah, that's true. We did go to Compline, and that's always exactly what needs to happen.
I love Compline.
Yeah. Just, it's a quiet space. I was telling you, Lizzy, that I love Compline because it's kind of like artistically harmonious, I think. Mm-hmm. You're like literally in a dark space.
It's evening. It's at 10 o'clock.
The lighting is really nice. It's all calm and quiet. And there are a lot of times in my life where I'm like, I don't think it's ever calm and quiet.
In that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's like so many people in that room, and it's so calm and quiet and not necessarily complicated. We kind of just do the same thing. It's got a rhythm.
Yeah. And it's great because it's at MLC at the Chapel of the Christ, which is such a big and awesome space for singing. And we've got everybody at MLC who's really good at singing. So every moment of song there is feels really peaceful and nice.
Yeah.
So you were there to, you're talking about this because there's this simmering anxiety.
Right. And sometimes I'm like, oh, if I feel that way, I should just go do art or like make something, whether it's good or bad. But I think actually for that case, it was like, I think you just need to rest for a second. Just like remember the bigger things. Like
change your perspective.
Yes. Like I'm feeling very small right now. So how, like I need to hear God's truth to help me, I don't know, just, it's very recentering. Mm-hmm. And like the things that make you anxious don't necessarily go away, but it has a perspective. And then I woke up the next morning and I made art and I felt much better.
That's great. I really like the phrase from before Lydia's and Joey got married, they're our friends. Mm-hmm. And at their rehearsal dinner, there was a little devotion. And in one of those lines is from that book.
Every Moment Holy.
Thank you. There was a phrase like, if you have any big worries, anxieties, or concerns, hold them loosely for these hours. And I really like that phrase. Like, when we're in the presence of people we love or in the presence of God, our anxieties don't necessarily go away, but we should hold them loosely. I'm a fan of that.
That is nice. I appreciate how often, again, our wonderful God who provides that comfort, how often in the Psalms, we see sadness and depression addressed. And that new, that Evangelical Heritage Version, that new EHV translation, which, kind of has as much scholarly advancement as possible for these days, where you'll see the word depressed. I think it was what earlier in the Psalms had been translated as "Why is my face so cast down?" Is now actually, why am I so depressed? And I thought that was so wonderful to see that. And again, the indication that God is absolutely aware that his children will also go through depression. And you think of the psalm that talks about, I flood my couch with tears. A line any blues musician would love to have come up with, obviously inspired. But the idea that there are times, I flood my bed, my couch is soaked in my tears. Wow.
Yeah.
God gets it. God gets our depression. And as we often say, just again, going on his promises, he's with us. He never, ever leaves us alone. I think that walking through the valley of the shadow of death, again, you get to the Hebrew, it's actually this superb, like, you could translate the shadowiest of shadows. In the darkest places. And depending on how you read it, but to me, just that psalmist emphatically declaring, I am not going to fear evil. And I'll tell you why. Because you promised to be with me. And you go a little bit further, that again, that surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Artists, actors. Again, with a little bit of extra study, I just did a sermon on this recently, but it's what they call that personification, where in the Hebrew it shows where it's as if goodness and mercy, hi, I'm goodness, hi, I'm mercy, where they're actually, it's written as if they were personified, as if they were persons.
And they walk with you.
And they pursue you. This is that beautiful, the picture me. God wants you. And see, follows, we had that for so long. It's like, geez, didn't quite nail it. The actual, and again, it comes out in this new translation. It's as if God is saying, goodness, mercy, after him.
Like hounds.
Yes.
I've always
they are pursuing you. And that is what he wants you to carry in your head. And that is just gorgeous.
Terry, I've had other conversations with people recently about whether or not people are convinced of the gospel, actually convinced of the gospel. And that's a hot topic, it's a very dicey thing to talk about. But what you just said about goodness and mercy pursuing you, this is God's mission.
Right.
He's going to chase you down for your good.
That's right.
Because he's got gifts. He's got so many gifts to give you. I just like hearing about the gospel. You are convinced. And you're convincing.
Well, you think, so, they say the magic of Bob Dylan is saying something so concisely. And I was just reading where John Lennon apparently was even jealous of Bob Dylan. It's like how, like they almost competed at how concise can you be to make a point. It's like,
could you give us an example?
Well, from there,
give us some Dylan.
What was the? Oh shoot, I can't do it on the spot. But I'm going to segue right to our dear Lord, because you think of how few words it took for him to say, "Fear not, little flock." And the reason, your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. So we're sitting here, or every artist is sitting there trying to pay their bills and all that, but doggone it, you got the kingdom. You have got eternity guaranteed by the blood of Jesus.
Now you've moved to a different identity.
That's for sure.
Earlier you were insisting on slave, servant, pilgrim, right? But let's not discount heir to the throne. Sons, daughters
Feels
of
nice.
The King. Yeah, and this is a done deal and a source of confidence. That helps you put perspective on things, helps you realize little things are little things. In fact, everything's a little thing. Right? Given your inheritance, given the ending, everything's a little thing.
Bob Dylan, as long as you needed a footnote, maybe it's the devil, or maybe it's the Lord.
You're going to have to serve someone. Yeah.
Exactly. I look forward to spending eternity with Bob Dylan in heaven.
I have a friend who thinks he's a closet Lutheran. And you start reading between the lines of especially more recent work.
Yes, and in his one of his writings, the fact that Bob Dylan actually read Martin Luther at one point.
There's evident in his lyrics, you think?
No, he actually says that he did. He was sleeping on a friend's couch who had an enormous library, and he actually delved into Luther.
Side note, my father-in-law went to the same high school as Robert Zimmerman, Bob Dylan.
Oh, in Hibbing?
Duluth Central.
Oh, how about that?
Central. Yeah, and that's a side note. We keep finding out that my wife's father, oh yeah, he went to school with an Olympic ski jumper. Oh yeah, one of his friends was the voice of Garfield.
Oh, gee.
One of his friends was, that same guy was on the Newhart Show. And one of his friends, a different friend, was the voice of every action film trailer. That deep voice that says, in a world where so-and-so, so-and-so. Yeah, that's Ted's classmate. He just knows him.
Wow.
Terry, you were given a presentation yesterday?
Yes.
Give us a little synopsis of that.
Super excited. Once a year, they have Evangelism Day at MLC. And had a presentation on art and music in evangelism. And again, went back to one of my big themes, that such a huge percent of the world is low literacy. It's just incredible. And the things that we want to, you think of, how that impacts, for example, seminary training. Okay, and what we're finding is more and more excitement over doing things with pictures. Okay, the idea of having a picture language. You think of the hieroglyphics. You think of even stories on cave walls. The idea of depicting things, of storing knowledge in pictures.
Cathedrals, stained glass windows.
Absolutely. Exactly. So we're very, very excited about that. Recently completed the Words of Institution in picture form. And again, you work with the culture, how do they store wisdom? How do they transfer knowledge? You work back from that. But we found that during seminary training to offer what I call kind of this visual note-taking, that the students were so excited to also have some pictures to remind them of the things, the doctrines that they were taught. So, again, that interesting thing where we have actually loaded in the language of pictures, the language of comics. Okay, we know what a bubble with a little tail means. Somebody said something. We know that the three little circles mean they thought it. So there's this fascinating to me, this universal language of comics, of pictures.
International style.
Exactly. So, and they were so concerned they didn't want to get the Words of Institution wrong. It's like we understand what's happening here. Okay, as Jesus himself instituted it for our strengthening of faith, for the sealing of our faith, he gave us that sacrament. It's amazing to see in pictures, having a picture of Jesus. It took two pages, one where has the bread in his hand, the other he's got the wine. Panels at the bottom depicting exactly what happened. Our Lord, on the night he was betrayed, little panel of Jesus and Judas, took bread, picture of him, broke it, close up of bread being broken, and gave it to his disciples. These are separate panels across the bottom. Then a figure of Jesus, and every word bubble that he spoke a little bit of putting things together, but, take and eat, picture of him handing the bread. This is my body, picture of his body, given for you for the forgiveness of sins. A black heart turns into a red heart. Do this, showing other people doing it in remembrance of me. So the idea of actually the words of institution stored in picture form. And the SEM students are just so excited to receive it.
I had 2 questions, now I have 3. Did you draw them? Are they available? And which seminary?
Yes, they are. I did draw them. And my dear friend Michelle did the coloring. I draw the picture, take a photo of it, send it to Michelle, who does the computerized coloring of it. Does a fabulous job, has a background in graphic design. And this one we will make available to anyone at the MLP site of Northwestern Publishing.
So maybe we put it in the show notes for this podcast. We could
that'd be great.
So people who are hearing this can click on it and see what you're talking about.
That'd be great. Right. It hasn't been uploaded yet. We're still putting some...
Neither has this podcast.
Okay. Finishing touches. But again, super excited.
Which seminary?
This one is being used with the Peruvians.
Okay.
I always go back to my dear Amazon leaders who are very on the low literacy end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always thought they have such a sense of fighting for eternal souls in the jungle.
Mm.
And I always the idea that I gotta make sure I say this exactly right. 1 out of 3 children before the age of 6 will die. And man, you better come in there with that that sacrament of baptism, infant baptism, which we so staunchly uphold and teach. If I can go off for a second, if I may, in that tribal group, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but where when the gal, has her first period, it's announced to the village that she can now be married. So you have guys and gals. Again, this is a Amazon tribal group living deep in the Amazon jungle. So guys and gals, 14, 13, even 12 years old, getting married. So you start having children when you're 12, and you could easily have 8, 10, 12, 14 children. Did I mention this on the last podcast?
No, this is new information.
Okay. So you're having maybe 14 children. And to think 1 out of 3 will die before the age of 6. So every family has experienced grief I won't pretend to understand. Every family, no doubt, has experienced at least the loss of 2, 3, maybe 4 children. And before Christianity came to the village, nobody knew what happened. And you think biblically, where Solomon writes that, he has put eternity in their hearts. One of the very few, there's just that tiny handful of givens, things that you can say anyone, anywhere in the world knows. Okay. What of course we call the natural knowledge of God. Everyone knows there's got to be something greater than us by the witness of nature. Everybody knows by the conscience that God put in us that, there's right and wrong, and that our relationship with God is broken. It's not so hot. Anywhere you go, people know that. And number 3, people know this just can't be it. There's got to be something, we're not plants, we're not animals. There's got to be something beyond this life. Now, with the Shawi tribe in the Peruvian Amazon, where we're so, blessed to work, they knew there was this spirit world. They, of course, you had shamans, occult practitioners. They had no idea what it was like. Basically, kind of more jungle, but that's where you are after this earthly, existence. And they believed that when the child died, it didn't normally or naturally just cross over. In fact, the moms would hear the voice of their dead children. Okay, we'll talk about an individual.
This is ringing a bell again. Now,
is that right?
I'm starting to remember, yeah.
Okay, and then they actually moved their house?
Right.
Yes.
Just a couple feet. Exactly.
So, again, coming in there with those beautiful words of God, those teachings, that through baptism, that faith is created, and that mom will see her child again. Yeah. That was just extraordinary. And again, a lot of times using pictures, showing the devil being expulsed from that child's heart, that the devil had a right to that child's eternal soul because Adam and Eve messed up. We all inherit a sinful nature. We are born dead spiritually. Born dead on arrival spiritually. And the teaching that through baptism, the devil loses the right to claim that soul, that child becomes a child of God.
So you're still working with Peru in mind. Do you go there?
Yeah, I usually get there about once a year at the request of the Peruvian seminary professors, right? And then we go to a town that's kind of like at the final Andean foothills before you drop into the Amazon basin, and some of the tribal leaders will have made a huge trip. They would have walked. Usually they walk for hours and hours down jungle paths. I like it better when we get to go to their village, but they'll walk for hours to get to a river, and then once they get on the river, they'll take that up to a river port town. This town called Yurimaguas. They'll get on a bus. Usually they'll all throw up at least once, and they'll finally get to Terapoto and have our week of classes, and then they'll repeat the whole process and get back to their deep jungle village.
Terry, I want to talk about you a little bit. Do you think, okay, so how do I package this? Because every time you start talking, you go down long pathways. So I don't want to lose the point here.
Okay.
One point is you're an artist. Okay, and that has been true in different incarnations over the past. Musician, you just described graphic novel work. That's one thing I want to talk about. You as an artist, and then looking around the room, thinking about, so you're also a minister, right?
Right.
And at Bethany, especially in the art department, we're interested in that crossover, where your faith and your creativity combine. That's a topic. Another topic is, how old are you? Because I'm imagining you hiking through the jungle, right? And you wish you were.
Right.
I think you always wish you were hiking in the jungle. How old are you?
You got that right. 71.
71. And do you notice being 71?
No, I guess not.
That's okay. That's what I wondered, because I deal with people who are feeling like they're past their prime at 23.
Oh,
like they are not Justin Bieber, and so it's over. Wow. Like I missed my teens. I guess that was that.
Real.
But you got to think.
Does that seem familiar?
Yeah.
Right, but
sure.
71 hiking through the jungle. Come on, people.
Absolutely.
It is so far from over. It hasn't even begun.
Plus, you think of how, I mean, here's one place where we kind of got going. Artists, musicians, again, Picasso, blues musicians that are still creating into their 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Michelangelo was carving into his 80s.
Okay, right. The drive is still there kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you an artist?
Musician. I'd say a musician who draws.
Yeah.
And I'd like that, finally, I finally saw this recently, the definition of a folk artist and folk art is simply someone who hasn't received formal training.
That's a flex more and more nowadays.
Oh, seriously?
A lot of people like to say self-taught.
Okay. Unpack that a little bit, maybe?
Well, maybe it's part of the Mike Rowe effect, Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs, where people have a sideways glance at college and education. Is it worth it? Are they all charlatans taking your money? You could learn on YouTube, or you could just you don't need all that. Get a job, learn to love it, be useful somehow. So more and more I'm seeing and hearing a cultural phenomenon where people are proud to say they were not trained. And they're kind of implying maybe I'm just a natural genius.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not proud of it. I would love to just go to school. I would love it to pieces.
Well, you've done a lot of that, though.
Yeah. I have a great conga.
You're a doctor.
I got a conga teacher right now that's in the stratosphere.
Right? You're Dr. Schultz.
Right.
Officially. Reverend Doctor?
Not very.
If we're going to say Irreverent Doctor?
There you go. Yeah.
So can we transfer that dual nature across the table?
Please. Yes.
What are your thoughts about it feels dicey because, we have to be careful about the idea of who's a minister.
Whew.
Right.
You've got that right.
The idea of the
huge
divine,
point.
the
Huge
divine
point,
call,
Jason.
Right? But we probably should get clear about what do we mean and what kind of a theological leadership can an artist realistically expect to exert? Young women in our midst, right?
Please.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
What's the question?
What's it? I don't know. I'm
think
not formulating a question. I'm bringing up a topic.
A topic of reading.
You've said on film, Lizzy, that you realized you couldn't be a pastor, but being a painter and expressing your faith that way is an opportunity that you do have.
Yeah. I don't remember when, but when I was a kid, I was really upset that I couldn't be a pastor. I was like, what if I want to do that? And it's just, it's not for me. I don't think it would have even been. I don't know. That's a weird if question, but I'm really happy that I can use my art to share the gospel in ways to everyone still. I can make a big old painting and put it in the front of a church. Well, the church has to decide to hire me first, but that's okay. Then I can do that, and then I can share my faith in that way.
Faith, you've been doing a lot of this.
Yeah.
Faith, you're going great guns right now. Shadow puppet shows. There's an upcoming MLC Christmas devotional book full of your illustrations.
Yep.
Wow.
You two,
Nice.
both, plus Lydia, have been working on decorations / semi-performance for the MLC Christmas concert.
Yep.
Right? So there is a public-facing, I think we could say, ministry. That's an interesting thing to think about as an artist.
Yeah, I feel like Faith probably has more to say about
I
this
have some
than me.
thoughts. They're all swirling around at the same time.
You want a second? Because I could fill a little bit.
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay.
I'll add a phrase,
Go ahead.
if that's all right.
Yeah.
You can't say enough for Peter's inspired verse about that you are a royal priesthood. And that includes everyone. It would have been enough to be royalty, princes and princesses, but to have that absolute overarching royal priesthood. So it's like everyone's already made the cut. To be a child of God is to actually have a certain type of priesthood role. That is not blasphemous.
Now you're on another identity.
You got that right. And it's
okay,
one
so
that's...
let me retrace those steps.
Go ahead.
Slave, servant, pilgrim, son and daughter, royal priest.
And again, just you see how integrated all these teachings are. If you get up in the morning, you get out of bed, it's like, I'll put my priestly robes on, which consist of jeans and a t-shirt. But again, the responsibility that encompasses, that is exciting. You are a member of the priesthood. Act accordingly. Filter your artwork through your priesthood role. Wow. Whew. Filter your life there. Man, if that doesn't put a certain perspective on how you approach what you do. It's a given. Your royal priesthood and how your role plays out. Again, I love that with that combination of skills. I mean, puppetry for the priesthood. Incredible. No? Posters to save souls. Man, that is it in action. That is it graphically, no pun intended. That is it in the way that you are uniquely capable of spreading the gospel.
Terry, I always feel so encouraged just in proximity to you.
That's nice to say, Jason.
Yeah. AI won't do it. Zoom won't do it. I want to breathe the same air as you.
That's beautiful, Jason.
Faith, have you had a little time to formulate?
Yeah, though
Okay.
Terry did a really good job with that one.
Let's hear what you say.
I your life is a ministry.
That's right.
Like in every vocation you do, whether that's artist, musician, daughter, if you're a parent, if you are a barista, if you drive your car, your commute is your vocation during the commute. And there are ways to serve God and to serve others in all of those moments. And like art is definitely not like that. Art is definitely one of those things. Mm-hmm. I thought about this a lot when I was in school because I went to a secular university, loved it, it was awesome, but I definitely felt the tension of like, am I a Christian artist? Like, because I also realized doing, like, was I a Christian artist whether I was doing artwork that was directly Christian or not? I've wrestled with that question. I think I later kind of landed on, like, your art's going to be Christian whether you want it to or not.
Yes, for sure.
Just because if your faith is an important thing in your life, it's going to show itself in all that you do, including your artwork. So, yeah, I think art is definitely a ministry. Thinking of like puppets in particular, I think it's very funny because, like, the reason I think I'm doing puppets is because my pastor was like, hey, we're doing like a fall fest.
Really?
You want to do something for the inside part of it? I was like, sure, I kind of like doing puppets. Can I do that? He was like, I don't care.
That's amazing.
Well, I think he did care, but like in the sense of like letting me have creative freedom. I think I've always been a little nervous sometimes, like how far can puppets go in church? But I wonder if that nervousness is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Well, seeing your shows, I think everyone is surprised at how far it goes. And it has something to do with breathing the same air.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You've successfully staved off the inevitable digital broadcast of it, right? Because there's something really powerful about all of us together watching this thing in which it feels like anything can happen.
Isn't that like church, kind of, sometimes? Like, I don't know. When church is like really good, when service is really good, the air feels electric.
You got that right.
You were describing Compline.
Yeah. It's like for a moment, like everything just makes sense.
It's good for us to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's downright, again, a command, where Paul writes, let's not give up meeting together. Yeah, there's a reason for that. That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, for him to put that in words.
Because that's the way God made people.
That's right. Huge point. If I can respond though, about the nervousness. I've seen, there's books and courses on performance, especially for musicians, and by and large, they will mention that, some nervousness is a good sign for the obvious reason that it indicates that you really want to do a good job. So if there was zero nervousness,
that'd be a concern.
Yeah, that'd be a concern, right? It makes a fascinating point.
Apathy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I just also don't see puppets in church, so I'm like, who knows? Anything could happen.
Well,
so.
and isn't that's part of that loneliness? Being at a frontier of any kind, right? Terry is at this frontier right now as he's trying to get confessional Lutheranism to consider rap and hip hop, because he sees the international language, just like you mentioned with
huge point.
Manga and comic book.
Yes.
Like people get it, but it's a frontier, and so there's, just like with puppets, there's something unmarked about this territory. You're in the jungle. You're hacking away at a pathway that isn't well tread, isn't well established, and you're the only one out there.
And again, just the way the world developed in certain cultures, puppetry is so revered. And I know, Faith, I've mentioned this in Hanoi, where they have those, water puppets, where there's a little stream that goes through the town, and the puppeteers actually stand in about waist deep water, and they have these very intricate rods that I guess the word twizzle is they move those around, and then these rods come up and the figures dance around. But again, that art form is so revered that there is a live orchestra of about a dozen musicians, violins, violas, flutes, etc., live musicians to accompany the puppet show. And you go to the museums in certain Asian countries, and you will see these extraordinary shadow puppets, as you've cut out of leather, etc., but as museum pieces of again, just so highly valued, the art form of puppetry. So there's places where people just really recognize the power of that medium.
So I want to suggest that potential is the superpower of the artist, the ability to see potential. Faith, you like to talk about like simple materials. You like to sort of elevate that this is normal stuff. And I've said a similar thing about the high cross that we're working on. Everything came from Menards. You know?
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, right. Click on the link. But the ability to see potential, well, going back to being a teacher, right? That's part of my art brain that I'm now applying to say somebody like Lizzy, who we opened this episode talking about how she was struggling with the idea of school. I remember the tour that you came to Bethany looking. That sentence is not going to work. I remember you on the tour with your parents, and I could tell that you belonged here, and that was confirmed when I saw you operate. I saw you paint. The ability to see potential in puppets or hip hop students or a subject matter. This is that thing where Makoto Fujimura says artists are border stalkers in a culture. They're the ones that are, from any culture, they're the ones that are poking at the boundaries, trying to understand, well, what else? What else could we do? Will this work? Will this work? So that was my way of trying to pull Lizzy into the conversation.
Thank you. I don't know what to say, though.
That's okay. That's okay. So maybe closing thoughts, if anybody wants to wrap this up or put something in the ears of our feast readers. I'll say, you never know what a day's going to bring. None of us, myself included, knew that this episode was going to happen, and there were different levels of revelation here about when you found out this is going to happen. You never know. You never know.
That's true.
I do appreciate a couple of comments there on we're exploring the use of hip hop and rap in church. There are churches, Protestant churches, on the south side of Chicago, where the entire service is in hip hop. And as more than a few musicians have pointed out, there's no such thing as evil notes or chord progressions or rhythms, that type of thing. What's crucial is, and I know I've talked about this before, how the music you grow up with, becomes your heart music. Just like we have a heart language, I know we did talk about this before, you also have a heart music. And it is the music that you listen to in your teen years. Again, fascinating. You're hearing, this music as you're having explosions of different emotions for the first time in those early teen years. We talk about how the music actually is tagged to those emotional experiences. So again, according to neurophysicists, it is no exaggeration to say you are actually wired to respond to the music of your youth. As you were still putting down these canals and synapses, etc., you were actually making connections between strong emotions and music. And as I have said all over the world, the ramifications of that for your worship music are absolutely staggering. So as much as a culture, and you look at the subcultures, again, the south side of Chicago being a subculture of the entire city, that type of thing, it is fascinating yet not surprising that you would see a church on the south side of Chicago using hip-hop in their worship music. That this is what resonates, this is what absolutely penetrates the heart of the South Side churchgoers. And as Luther himself said before the neurophysicists got to it, that music literally is a vehicle that drives the message into the heart. Something that the Holy Spirit, of course, empowers and works. But just getting in a little bit of a push for, again, always letting a culture make decisions on their worship music, which again is, we've taught this, there's nothing is more Lutheran than recognizing the authority for decisions lies with the local congregation. And when that happens, you'll end up with these amazing music choices that resonate with the people that are going to church.
In the same way that Luther translated into German.
Exactly the same way. And used earthy folk songs, literally secular songs. The quotes have been attributed to a whole lot, but more than a few historians maintain that Luther did in fact say, "Why should the devil get all the good music?"
All right. Any other parting thoughts? Feast readers, we're out here hacking away in the forest, in the jungle. And
I love it.
Sun's going down. We got to make camp here. And we'll catch you next time at the sunrise.
Where's my machete?
We'll be, I think I'm sitting on it. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
And that concludes this episode of Whistle the Feast. We hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation as much as we did. Whistle the Feast would not be possible without all the creative people and spaces at Bethany Lutheran College. And you can head on over to blc.edu to learn more about the college or schedule a visit. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can actually send any feedback about the show to feastreaders@gmail.com. And hey, if you've got a project you'd like to promote, we'd love to support it. Just send your details our way. A huge shout out to the wonderful people in our Bethany community for sharing their thoughts with us, and our producer Jaksyn Graham for managing the edits. And with that, I'm Norah Kratz alongside Jason Jaspersen, and we want to thank everyone who tuned into this episode of Whistle the Feast. Until next time.
Get curious, be of good service, and discover what God has given you.